here look at the European market for April the 5th, 2011. Welcome to FX Bootcamp. Let me remind you, the purpose of FX Bootcamp is education, non-load service. Not going to make any direct trade recommendations during the course of a day. What I will do is conduct some live fundamental technical analysis, hopefully put together some decently profitable trade plans. Please do not trade your hard-earned money until you have a track record of success using a broker's demo. Okay guys, well, very tough read for me just looking at things now. When I'm making this video, we've got quite a few things at resistance, and I was just chatting to Rob Helene, our Asian coach, and he was talking about a pound short. I tend to agree with him. I think I'll take a look at cable here in a minute. Very sort of tentative in my bias today. So anyway, what I want to do in light of that is I want to discuss certain things that are going to give me bearish, certain things that are going to get me bullish, and then we'll associate ourselves from there, and then I'll update my Twitter. I'll update my twit as things become a little clearer to me as the day goes on. So here's the euro dollar. This is a weekly chart, and I really think half the planet is watching this. It's 42.5 area. 42.5 has been a tough spot, and we got this weekly trend line pushing down from here. Okay, now here's the thing, all right? Take note of the trend line and just keep that as sort of a mental picture there very quickly. Now if I go to the daily chart and zoom in here a little bit, here's the thing, okay? We use the 5 EMA at FX Bootcamp as a means of dynamic support, all right? Notice our price uses it, dynamically speaking, as a good little support zone, and notice how that is precisely where we bounced off of yesterday. So in other words, we've hit the resistance, but we've also hit the support. So you've got dynamic support in an uptrend, remember. This is still an uptrend, meeting the solid resistance point in terms of the visual to the downside. So as a result, you got chop in between here. Alright, now there's something to remember. If I just switch back to the weekly chart, alright, it wouldn't be crazy for the euro to go up to say 43.70, 43.80, maybe even as high as 44, and then come down and actually close a weekly candle below the trend line, even though it breached it with a wick. Keep that in mind, alright? It's a weekly chart. It could break this by 100 pips and still not be broken. Alright, but I do expect, off a level like this, that we want to at least come back to 138 zone. Alright, now does that make me outright bearish right out the chute? Not necessarily, okay, because of the dynamic support on the way of the 5. So let me show you the 4 hour here. Basically, the way I want to trade this is simply a trap. Alright, I'm going to watch 42 effectively as the downside of the trap, and I'm going to watch around the 42.40, 42.45 as the upside part of the trap, and in between here, it's dead to me. Alright, now if we break below that, great, I'm going to be looking for a pullback to the short side and focus and trying to take it down to this little trend line on the bottom here, which is around 140.80. If we break above 42.50, I'll look for the breakout pullback, and then long probably up to about 43.80 on the long side. Okay, I know that's not fantastic analysis, but that's just where we're at. Alright, it's okay to put something on the shelf and say, fine, I'm not excited about trading you. That's fine. Okay, you know, you don't have to be in a position. Sometimes not being in a trade is a position. Okay, anyway. Alright, now the other one is the pound here. Okay, I'm going to be very brief. Now, basically, cable is in a range. We did make this lower low situation here last week, but then we promptly used this area as role reversal even after coming off a lower high. Alright, so what I was saying to bootcampers yesterday is we're probably on our way to 62 to 62.20. We didn't even quite get there yesterday. Alright, now we are at resistance within the context of what can now be described as a downtrend, but you do have a brand new 5A cross to the upside. So I'm a little bit conflicted here too. What I would want to see is that this thing actually heads up from here, tackles around the 62.20 mark, and then fibs this rise. In other words, drops off there back to around 160.60 and finishes up right where it started. Okay, so that's more or less what I'm looking for on the pound today. I know it's flimsy analysis. I'll show you on the 4 hour here very quickly. So in other words, this little fib here, this little higher low pops us up. I'm hoping Asia takes us long to around 62.20, and then it's short for London down to around 160.80 or so, something along those lines. Okay, in other words, tackling that resistance up there and then dropping off of that. Okay, I hope this video was helpful. It's a tough read for me, It's like I'm looking for a pullback on the yen crosses, but don't want to be the first one in the trade, sort of thing. So I'm definitely got my reservations all the way around on what we're up to, and I'm just looking for a trap it and trade it on that euro dollar. I will update my Twitter, my twit, as the day goes by, as things become clearer to me, and we'll put together some trade plans there too. All right, my name is David Pegler. Look at the European market for April the 5th, 2011. Feedback, YouTube, blog, always appreciated, and we'll chat to you tomorrow. Cheers.